Okay, Assalamualaikum. Hi and good evening, everyone, and welcome to my free online lesson. Okay, if you have any problem listening to my mic or any audio issues, or you didn't see any screen presentation, you can just inform me in the chat box. Okay, my name is Amir Safwan bin Ismail, and I am a mechanical engineer in ACAD Systems. And today I'm going to show you how you can set up a simple interior and volumetric lighting in Autodesk 3ds Max using Arnold Render. So for interior lighting, we have two methods to light up our scene, which is the first method is Skydome light. And then the second method is quad light. Okay, the Skydome light, it represents the sky light that will light up our scene. And then we have light portal. Okay, the light portal is an option located in quad light. All right, this sky dome light will use light portal through the quad light so that we can reduce the noise and make our render faster. As you can see in the picture on the left, over the dark area or shadow area over here, we can see this grainy effects, or you can call it noise. So what light portal do is it guides the Skydome light sampling by controlling how it enters our scene. Like as you can see in the picture on the right over here, the shadow area are no longer grainy or noisy. Okay, the light portal also must cover windows, doors, and opening. So that means we need to adjust the scale and the size of our light to match with the Windows frame shape. So next we have distance light, which represents the sunlight. Okay, in the picture on the left over here, we can see with the distant light on, we have this light that trace the window over here, the window frame over here. Okay, so let's go to 3ds Max and start our light setup. Okay, over here we have 4 different views. You can toggle to zoom in each of these viewport by pressing Alt and W. Okay, so now I can quickly head over to Create tab, click on camera icon to add our physical camera. On the top view over here, click and drag to drop in our camera. Okay, on perspective over here, we are going to select our camera. Okay, under physical camera over here, under focal length, I want to adjust the value for like 28 millimeter so that we can see a wider range of view. Then I might also want to press W on your keyboard and select your camera target. Then going to adjust the view a little to the left, something like this. Okay, and then I'm going to add our Skydome light. Okay, head over to the Create tab and click on this bulb icon over here. From Volumetric, click on Arnold. And then I'm going to click on Arnold light. Over here, under Shape tab, from quad, we are going to change to Skydome. Okay, under Shape Rendering, going to turn on the light shape visible. Scroll down to Intensity, going to make the intensity 1.5. For exposure, I'm going to give it 1. And then going to click Normalize Energy. And lastly, under Rendering, for samples, I'm going to put 4. Okay, and now I'm going to place our Skydome light in our scene and maybe adjust the positions somewhere over here. Okay, to actually see what is going on, click on render setup over here, or you can simply press F10. For target, going to choose active shade mode. Arnold Renderer, for view to render, select our camera and click on this lock icon to lock our view to this physical camera view only. Over Arnold Renderer, I'm going to adjust some of these settings. So under sampling and ray depth, camera samples, I'm going to give it 3. Okay. For these options, I'm going to put 2. Diffuse samples until volume indirect, the value is 2, as well as ray depth. But for transmission ray depth, I'm going to put 8. Okay, and then after I click render, we should see our scene lighten up. Okay, so this render only shows the lighting from the Skydome without using the light portal. So what I'm going to do is compare this render to the portal light that I'm going to add later. Okay, to add our portal light, under create tab, light icon, and then we are going to make another Arnold light. For type, click on quad light. Okay, and then you want to click this portal checkbox option over here. And then at the top view, if you want to pan your view, you just simply click middle mouse button and move your mouse. Okay, zoom a little bit, and we are going to click and drag to put in our portal light. Okay, something like this. And then at the front view over here, I want to change from wireframe to clay. And then click Alt and middle mouse button to change your view. Press G to hide the grid. I'm going to rename the light. So the first light is Skydome. And then for this light, we are going to name it Portal Light. Portal 001. Okay, select both the light and the target. Press W to move it, and we are going to move it a little upwards. Something like this, and then going to select just the light. Press R, and then I can scale it up until you can see the square aligned with the shape of the window. Press W and make it move up a little. Select both the light and the target, move up a little. Okay, and then I'm going to adjust this target light over here. Okay, and then I'm going to create another 2 copy. To do that, select both the light and the target, hold down Shift, and drag the arrow to the next window. Okay. For clone options, click Instance, number of copy of 2. Okay, so now we have another 2 portal lights that is linked to the first one. So if I made a change on the first portal light over here, the other 2 should follow. Okay, so now let's render the view. Okay, so over here, we can already see the difference the render on the left, we have only Skydome light. We can see this really grainy effect. This really grainy effect. Okay, on the right, you can see the noise and grain effects are being reduced. Okay, and then I'm going to add a distant light, which is our sunlight. Okay, to do that, head over to the Create tab. For Arnold light, I'm going to change the type to distant light. Scroll down under color/intensify. We are going to choose Kelvin with the value of 5,500. Then for intensity, I'm going to give it 1.5. Then for exposure, I'm going to give it 1. Okay, and then I'm going to place our sunlight by click and drag the mouse. Make sure you point the target to your camera. Okay, click on Run Active Shade to see what is actually going on. We want to adjust the position of our sunlight or distance light. Okay, press W on your keyboard and we can adjust the position. Until you see the sun rays that is projected in our scene. Okay, as you can see over here. So as you can see, this edge looks sharp, like it is not really realistic. So what I'm going to do is adjust the angle value. So let's say 3. Then you can see the edges are smoothed out. But if I increase the value too high, for let's say 20 degrees, you can see the sun rays are starting to disappear, but it's just barely visible under the window over here. So I might want to make it stay at the amount of 3. So if you satisfied with your render setup, going to go ahead and close the render and head over to render setup, and we might want to change some settings over here. So for camera AA, we are going to make it 5, diffuse sample 6, and then I might want to turn on adaptive sampling to reduce the noise even more. So let's say 30. And then after I click render, I should have my render result. It might take up to 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, you might want to have a result like this. So by using the light portal and increase the diffuse samples, you can have this render result, which is quite promising. As you can see, there are less noise. And if you want to make the noise less visible, you can add up more value to the diffuse sample. So that is first method in lighting up our scene, which is Skydome light. So for the next method, which is quad light, it is a more common approach to lighting up our interior scene. As you can see in the picture on the top and bottom over here, the results are quite similar. But we have two methods because for volumetric lighting, this volumetric lighting only applies to quad light method, which is the second method that I'm going to show you. So let's open up 3ds Max. And I'm going to revert back these settings. Okay, and then click render. Okay, first I'm going to temporarily turn off the sun light properties. Okay, and then select the Skydome light and scroll down until you see contribution section over here. We want to zero out these values except for the camera, so that the Skydome light won't affect our lighting setup. Okay, for your portal light, we are going to turn off the portal option. Just simply click on portal. And as you can see, the exposure is too high. So what I'm going to do is put the intensity of 1.5, and for exposure, make it 3. If your render viewer won't render, just click on render setup and turn off the adaptive sampling, and your render will be start. Your render will start. Okay. Now, if we turn back on our sunlight, select the distant light before and turn on its light properties. And here we should see we have similar render result as the first method. Okay, you can adjust the settings for sampling and ray depth. To camera, we set it to 5, diffuse to 6, and turn off the preview, and we should get render result like this. Okay, very simple setup. We just use the same one as the Skydome, but we just turn off the contribution for Skydome and also turn off the portal option for our quad light. And there we have our second method. Okay, moving on to volumetric lighting. So volumetric lighting or volumetric shader, it simulates the light scattered by a thin, uniform atmosphere. As you can see in the picture on the top over here, we have these foggy effects and atmospheric vibes over here, which make our scene looks more interesting compared to our normal interior lighting. So to make these settings, we are going back to 3ds Max and revert the settings, turn on preview, and then I'm going to go ahead on the top over here. We need to turn on the material editor. Okay, over here you should have select material editor. If you don't see this tab, click on mode, and then you should see select material editor. Okay, on the render setup over here, scroll down until you see atmosphere section over here for scene atmosphere. So what I'm going to do is over select material editor, drop down material, Arnold, atmosphere, and we should see atmosphere volume. Then we are going to click and drag this material volume to our view node viewer over here. So this is called a node. So for this node, we have this little knob over here that we can click and drag. Then we are going to drag into the scene atmosphere as an instance. Click OK. And then we are going to click on render to see what is going on. Okay, so for now, we didn't see any change yet because the density is 0. So the amount of volume is depending on this density. If I increase even once, like 0.001, we can already see in the render, we have this fog effect. But the density looks a little too high because our light intensity is pretty high. But without even I change the light options, I can change these two options over here, which is attenuation and eccentricity. So for attenuation, the higher the value, the shorter the distance the light travels through the volume. The lower the value, the longer the distance. Okay, for eccentricity, for positive values, the light scatters forward. For negative values, the light will scatter inward. So with these three settings, which is density, attenuation, and eccentricity, I can adjust the fog effect in our render. So for example, I will adjust the attenuation. If I increase the value, we can already see the effects that will happen in the render. If I increase it more, we can already see the light travel shorter distance from our light source. We can also see if I turn up the attenuation, this light ray will disappear. So if you don't want that to happen, we can adjust the eccentricity option over here. So as it says, the negative values make the light scatter inwards from our light. So for example, I put the value negative 0.95. We have this okay render result, but the fog doesn't really look visible. So what I'm going to do is increase a little bit the density, like 0.005. And as you can see, we have this atmosphere or volume. Okay, if I don't want this sun ray over here, I can go ahead and zero out the eccentricity and increase the attenuation. I might want to lower the value of density. I can also play around with the position of our light and also the scale. So like, as you can see in the windows on the right over here, we can see the light shape. So I might want to select both the light and the target, move it a little to the right, and make sure it covers the window area. Same for the middle light and the left light. I can move it to the right, and I also can scale it by pressing R. Okay, select this left one, scale it up until it covers all the window area. If it's too bright, I can adjust the position of this light. Select our portals, light portals, and press W to move. And I want to move it backwards. All right, something like this. So you can play around with the settings and we can achieve different varieties of volume render, volume lighting render. For example, I have these 3 different settings, which I change the density, attenuation, and eccentricity. We can achieve different varieties of render results. Okay, if you're satisfied with your render settings or volumetric settings, you can go ahead and click on render setup. And then close the active shade, turn off the preview for camera again, enter the value of 5, the diffuse samples of 6, and turn on the adaptive sampling and click render. And then you should get your render result within 5 to 7 minutes, depending on your device specification. Okay, so that is all. I have covered the first method, which is the Skydome light method. Second method, which is quad light, and also volumetric lighting. And before I end our session, I want to introduce you guys to our ACAD system website. So on our website, we have KL and Penang numbers, so you can contact these numbers. We also have help desk. So if you have any issues or question about our products, you can simply click on ACAD system help desk, and you can create a new ticket as a guest, fill up the form, and then you can ask us the question and we will answer immediately. Okay, scroll further down, we have mission and vision statement, latest Autodesk promotion and news. Then if I scroll further down, we have upcoming events and also free online lessons. So if you are interested in joining one of these lessons, you can just simply click and scroll down. You should see the Zoom meeting over here. Okay, if you scroll further down, you can see Google reviews. You can click on this and you can write a review for us for this lesson or for our training. Okay, we also have our ACAD system YouTube channel. We have content for previous free online lessons. For example, we have dark fabrication in Autodesk Revit, Civil 3D, Twinmotion, or you want to learn how to use Fusion 360, what is new for Autodesk, Civil 3D, and so on, you can just visit our YouTube channel. Okay, so that is all from me. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys again later.